Shalom, 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 shalom. Take 3. Or is it take 4? This is whatever part I'm on. I think part 4 of the series, and it's going to be a total of 11 parts. A Christian is a person that was born into sin and received salvation of that. All people are born into sin. When a child is born, newly born, it has no sin, right? Now, when he gets older, 2, 3, starts sinning, lying, cheating, stealing. And it just gets worse from that point. So everybody sins. There's no one that's perfect. No one can get away from it. Now, sin separates God from man. So what sin is actually is it's a set of laws. You either do the law as God prescribed, which means you're law-abiding, or you don't. If you make one break within the law, just one, right? Then you're no longer law-abiding. You're a lawbreaker. Doesn't it separate you from God? But everybody sins, so there's no way around it. Now, a Christian is a person whom is forgiven of their sins, and through baptism and prayer, they are saved. Now, I'm not saying the actual act in itself is the answer. I'm just saying that these things occur. A person prays to be forgiven of their sins. A person goes to baptism at least once in their life. I'm not going to cover baptism. I mean, I still got doctrine I have to fish out of my head. And I haven't talked about the doctrine versus, doctrine versus reality. And it's just a mess. It comes out of my past. But you go through this. Now, you might sit there and say, well, I've never sinned. Well, of course you have. If you've ever stolen anything in your life, no matter how small, I don't have a pen right here. Come on, right here. Let's say I just took a pen, right? Innocently took a pen. I just stole. Guilty. Fry. If I looked at a woman or a man, or a woman looked at a man, and they had other thoughts, they just committed another sin. The adultery, especially if the other person's married. If a person lies, just a small lie, like, yeah, honey, I love that. That was a great meal. You're trying to save the person's feelings, but you just lied. That's a sin. I mean, you're not supposed to ridicule her, or him, whoever was cooking. You just say, no, I didn't like it. Had too much oregano for me. I mean, I'm sure it was good, but just for me, it was just too much oregano. You told the truth. But by saying, yeah, I loved it, you lied. Of course, in that example, you could end up with the same meal several times, and you have to suffer through it. That one's a double-edged sword. To be forgiven is reconciliation with God. In other words, you become a disciple of Isa Christ, Yeshua Mashiach. And you become his disciple, his follower. You do things as he said to do. You follow within his footsteps. Now, what he said, and I'm not going to go through a long theological debate, but he said started back in Genesis 1:1. And it's a long debate. It's a long, drawn-out debate, but he actually said that God the Father has never spoken to man. But God was known to walk with Adam and Eve. God was known to sit down and with Abraham. God spoke to all the prophets. So if God the Father never spoke to men, who spoke to him? Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. Long story, go in that some other time if you're interested. Now, a Christian is a person that lives in hope. Hope for their future life with God. Hope to bring their family out of sin. Hope to bring their friends out of sin. Hope to bring everybody out of sin. Actually, hope for the world to get them out of sin and make them one with God. They live in that hope and desire to do so. But what this doesn't contain is this. To be hopeful by doing so does not mean you attack and belittle another group. For example, I have friends who are wicked, right? I don't agree with them, but it means I don't hate them either. I don't treat them as an outcast. I don't treat them as a subhuman being. I don't treat them as like a disease or whatever. They're still human. They're still a person. They're still, could be a child of God. Maybe their time hasn't came yet. But by attacking them, by belittling, by insulting them, by trashing them, if you want to call it that, what I basically do is, if God is here, they are here. By doing so, I do this. I push them from God, not to God. It's one of the reasons I don't like the old hellfire and brimstone sermons, because it in itself drove people from God, not to God. It only edified the speaker. It didn't edify God. And it made God out as a person who hated, and God doesn't. Yes, God has His rules, His laws, and the way He wants you to live. And you have a choice to do or not do. Doesn't hate. But by making people think He hates them, then you are driving a wedge between God and the rest of mankind. That's also sin. And that is not the way of Yeshua. That is not the way of Jesus Christ. That is wrong. We don't attack and belittle other groups. We do not isolate ourselves from other groups. We are there to be shepherds. We are there to be ambassadors. We are there to be teachers. We're not there to attack, to belittle, to destroy. Those things are not of God. That is of Satan. And as a person that I like, although it stopped talking to me for some reason, I'm not going to pursue why. Comprende? For ghrá, tase mat dish.